So then we are back with more understandings from the time of the Second Tabernacle services, where we find the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Tzayelic lineage, so then we can understand the time of the end. As per Yeshayahu the prophet, we find layers of understanding of the spring feast, the autumn feast, and also the returning of the cities of the Messiah laid waste for many centuries. As we read then Yeshayahu the prophet, clearly this great prophet, as we read his story, we understand even the nation of Israel at the time when the prophet was then indicating and directing the people, Israel then destroyed its own prophet. Incredibly, they had taken him near a river, and then obviously there were sections of this area where then the prophet was sawn in half. So then, let's make an evaluation as far as the stupidity of Israel of destroying a prophet, explaining situations regarding the nation and the future, and also the other nations. Yeshayahu the prophet was very unique, because he did not go along with the wishes of the people of his time. However, those who are saved and those who are not, they must make a reference of this prophet that was murdered. Israel destroyed its own prophets, and they thought they would profit something from his destruction. Thus far, Israel lives in a situation where there is a war everywhere. So what they did was not very nice. Let's then evaluate, besides this very intriguing situation, because the prophet Yeshayahu gives us understandings of the time of the restoration period and also post-autumn feast. Let's then understand these next 24 months to 36 months. What can we understand as far as the union of United States and Israel, Gog and Magog? These nations, unfortunately, as we can read from the records of the prophet Daniel, there is a section where it states very clearly as far as they are joining up and then exercising deceit. United States is the despised one of the 11th chapter of Daniel, and Israel unfortunately becomes the unbeliever side of the covenant, thus both of them joining up and exercising deceit. What are some of the areas that the United States has done thus far to give us the indication of deceit? Well, some time ago there were projects the United States was involved in that was a complete blunt deceit. The most striking that we can understand is obviously the Ozarks. The United States, in the very center of the country, the United States government has built a city underground, and they are thinking in the near future that they should then direct the world from underground. Where did they get this information as far as building a city underground and then leading from it? None other than, obviously, the fact of U.S. reading from the manuscript that was from the Greco and the Romans. That's where they got their ideas from. So then, the deceit from the United States, besides other areas such as Plum Island, and some people should obviously make remarks as far as if it wasn't so near the mainland, they should nuke it, that place, because it's absolutely extremely evil. They mix animals over there with birds, they mix people with animals. So it shows that the United States has no respect for the creation. Besides the HARP project that destroys the atmosphere, and then moving Plum Island from the island over there near New York to the very center of the United States. They're trying to plan pandemics. They're buying caskets by the thousands. Not only this, but they are also building many residential places. They are like prisons for those who are alien without documents. And there are scores and scores of other examples. So the reason the United States is joining with Israel in shortly 24 months is then absolutely then to practice deceit. Where do we find these very precisely? Read then Daniel, the 11th chapter, and verse the 23rd and 24th. You find the despised one coming up with schemes and then deceiving further and then joining up with the covenant of Israel without believing the Messiah in what he has done. People sometimes they don't like to hear when they are deceived because it makes them low. Now they are consciously making decisions and then deceiving others. So then, as far as Israel, the Messiah himself has said many times, Israel has destroyed its own prophets. Prophet after prophet after prophet, they destroyed, they mistreat. And now Israel, whatsoever we can hear from the Prime Minister Netanyahu, is always complaining. This guy is the most highly complainer in the planet. He complains of the situation with the country. He complains of his neighbors. He complains of his economy. He complains of the war. This guy is a spreader of complaining. You don't hear him speaking of the economy. You don't hear him joining up other nations in promoting economy in the world. He doesn't speak with China and making deals with China. He doesn't spend money regarding then the improvements of ports and airports in Israel. But rather they have a person over there in Israel always complaining. And he does not have any shame on his face. Always asking for more money, more arms, more destruction. He doesn't understand deals, for instance. He should not be building on a land where it is dedicated for the Palestinians. And what does he do? He builds it and then he complains it. So not being critical, but if you then listen to his reports, there is not a chance in the world for Israel to becoming then an economic power, but rather a complainer nation of this planet. And obviously this prime minister should be replaced ASAP. So then they can join up the other nations and then do trade. Let's evaluate what the Messiah has said. Then the disciples were over there. The Messiah was teaching. And then the disciples, they were excited because of his teachings. Then he came to the Mount of Olives. And then the disciples began to talk. Oh, do you understand the temple over there? We made this temple and so on and so forth. They tried to brag what they themselves have built. And God did not ask for the temple. It was a gift from David because he was obedient. And then Messiah said, you people are deceived. Not a stone is going to be left upon another. What's going on in Israel today? Is there a temple over there? No, they have a heap of stones. So then, reading from the Holy Instructions, we should not be orthodox to the point of being stupid with the law. Neither should we neglect the words of the Torah. Neither we should be so far to the other side of then sin, and grace on top of it. There is a balance point, and was then taught by the Shilishim, Shaliach Shaul, Shaliach Shimon, and many others, so then we can understand both situations. Now, Israel is a problem ever since the nation started. Most of the time they want to do on their own ways. And they are so proud they don't take advice from other people. That's why they destroyed those who were given advice coming from the Creator Himself. Now, if they don't take advice from the Creator Himself, would they take advice from somebody else? That's why they have a complainer of a prime minister. Now, as far as myself, I'm also join with the Hebrews, but I don't go along with every say and everything they say. But I do listen to the words of the Messiah and what he said, because it takes balance. If you are Orthodox and you think because you have to be a Jew, you have to circumcise yourself, then you are a lunatic. The Messiah said the Spirit, Ruach HaKodesh, when it's guiding the person, you don't have to circumcise yourself anymore. Did God say for them to circumcise during the time of Abraham? Yes, He did. So then they would not masturbate. This was the objective. Now, if you have the Spirit of Ruach HaKodesh, then, though you are not circumcised, then you don't do it. You don't masturbate yourself because God is against it. Now, I don't care if you are a Habi or Nabi or Nibi or whatsoever it is. If you think you can be a Jew only because you circumcise yourself, then you are a lunatic. That's why the nation is in trouble, war everywhere, and then a complainer of prime minister. Always promoting division rather than unity. Let's read then a situation. "23rd and 24th. And then from the 21st, then there is the despised one, and then later on they're going to be joined up with the intrigues and the forces of the overflow, and then explains the ruler from the covenant, and they shall to join themselves and then practice deceit." Daniel from the 21st through the 24th verse. Now then the question, should we be concerned with Israel? No. We should not be concerned with Israel, because Israel has chosen its own path. Prophet Yeshayahu has said very precisely, Yeshayahu chapter 1:8, where tabernacling from the Messiah, the true tabernacling, is going to be on the land of Cush near Ethiopia. And then later on, Israel is going to be pruned by those wise people from this area of Sudan and then Ethiopia, land of Cush, because then the revealing portion of the truth then shall be given. So the unity of Israel and United States is for simply deceit, no other purpose. Next time we're going to evaluate more the situation in enlightenment of Yeshayahu and the Messiah himself. So please stay tuned. Much more coming up.